Hi there, this is Al24 News, live from Algiers. Coming up next in our news program. A series of deadly tornadoes tore through Kentucky and neighboring states over the weekend, killing at least 88 people. President Joe Biden is pledging to do all the necessary to help the tornado-hit states recover and rebuild plus. South Korea reinstates distancing curbs amid spike in COVID-19 cases, months after lifting them under a living with COVID-19. Also coming up, several European nations started vaccinating children aged 5 to 11 against COVID-19 in an effort to contain a raging pandemic and keep schools open, while others are still deciding the approach. Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune was warmly welcomed by his Tunisian counterpart. This visit aims to strengthen brotherly relations of the two countries as well as developing bilateral cooperation in diverse sectors. This visit also was concluded with 27 agreements in various fields. Ayedi Usama.
Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune was warmly welcomed by his Tunisian counterpart, Kais Saied. The first state visit of the Algerian president comes after the invitation of the Tunisian head of state. The Algerian president listened to the Algerian and Tunisian national anthems as they were followed by 21 cannon salute. The protocol of the Algerian delegation was followed by Tunisian presidential knights to the palace of Carthage. This brotherly visit aims to strengthen bilateral relations as a part of new strategic direction of both countries.
I thank you warm welcome, a brother in his brother's country in the arms of his brother. I thank you, my person, and in the name of the Algerian delegation accompanying me, as you made us feel that we are in our second homeland. It is a historic visit. Historic because the number of agreements is large, but they will find their way to be materialized. This visit comes as part of the continued bilateral efforts to strengthen relations of deep brotherhood between our two peoples.
The leaders signed 27 agreements in diverse sectors of endeavor, including justice, public institutions, communication, and a list of sectors that can take cooperation and development between the two countries to a privileged status during the ceremony on Wednesday at Carthage Palace in Tunis. President Kais Saied awarded President Abdelmadjid Tebboune the National Order of Merit Medal in Tunis for his efforts to achieve the aspirations of the Algerian people. The medal awarding ceremony took place on the sidelines of the dinner offered by the Tunisian president in honor of President Tebboune and the accompanying delegation.
I express my deep satisfaction for what our bilateral discussion concluded today, which resulted in fortifying our bilateral efforts in diverse sectors, hoping to reach economic fusion and unity horizons.
In a joint press conference, the Tunisian and Algerian presidents indicated the convergence of respective views on a number of regional and international issues, including the Libyan file.
Regarding the Libyan matter, our two countries have similar and unified position. This case has unfortunately become an international issue, and it's indeed most unfortunate that Libyans are excluded from the meetings on the issue. This is the cause of the free Libyan people, and there is a common position between our two countries regarding foreign interference, which further complicated the Libyan matter.
The two leaders welcomed the agreements that were reached during this visit, calling for accelerating the holding of next bilateral events. It's worth recalling that the President of the Republic concluded his two-day state visit to Tunisia and flew back home waiting for the future cooperation deals to be materialized soon.
Still with the same story and economically speaking, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune expressed his hope that the lost opportunities to achieve economic integration between Algeria and Tunisia will soon be rectified. For his part, Tunisian President Kais Saied praised Algeria for standing by his country, especially during the recent health crisis in light of the corona epidemic. Marwa Belaiwa reports.
كل شيء يجمعنا.
Everything gathers us, and nothing will separate us, my dear President and brother Abdelmajid Tebboune.
السيد عبد المجيد تبون.
With these words, Tunisian President Kais Saied summed up the relationship between Algeria and Tunisia. With the testimony of the Tunisian president, Algeria has been the financial and economic asset of its eastern neighbor for decades. Even in the most severe crisis, Algeria has been always present and supportive, notably including most the recent health crisis, which has proved the strength of the firm Algerian position.
نحاول نتدارك ما فاتنا.
We're trying to figure out what we missed on and the degree of economic deterioration due to specific conditions in Algeria and in Tunisia.
خاصة بكل قطر على حساب اتفاقيات اللي مضيناها.
According to the agreements, we're going to have an economic integration that will make both of our peoples, Tunisians and Algerians, in well-being.
الشعب التونسي الشقيق يعيش في رفاه ونفس الشيء بالنسبة للشعب الجزائري.
لن أنسى أبدا الموقف الجزائري.
I will never forget the Algerian position during the pandemic, and it has already been talked about how the oxygen is going to be shared between the two countries.
الأكسجين بين الدولتين.
That is what President Abdelmajid Tebboune had told me. We will share everything. We will share the same hopes and the same will.
كل شيء نتقاسم نفس الآمال ونفس الإرادة.
In the face of a more than excellent political agreement and consensus, Algeria and Tunisia are today seeking to raise economic relations to the same status as diplomacy.
And to talk more about the latest insights regarding this, I'm joined live by Hamoud Salhi, Professor and Associate Dean of International Education from the United States of America. First of all, welcome and thank you for accepting our invitation. What does this visit behold?
It's on the one sense, it's a regular visit. This is what neighbors do. This is what countries living to each other, next to each other do. So it's expected, and there has been several visits. The second thing, in terms of its timing, there are some serious issues that the region is going through. There is the issue of Libya. There is the issue of security in the Maghreb. So this is also a sort of a checkup where we are and making sure that the future is bright for the region. And thirdly, it is very important because of the economic conditions, the pandemic. All of these are issues that the two leaders discussed and thought best to get an update and move forward for good things.
Talking about regional issues, what will this visit offer to advance the promised Maghreb Unity project?
I think it's a step in the right direction, and what the Algerians are doing is looking at from the perspective that it is in the best interest of the region, and the interest is to be in peace, stable, and economic prosperous, and that one part who is going through difficulties must find some help in the other. So it is in the right and a step in the right directions. This is also important when we look at the type of agreements, the comprehensive agreements that the two countries have signed. It is an indication that the unity of the Maghreb, that working together is a solution to the problems that the region as a whole is going through. So it's definitely a good step in that direction.
And finally, Hamoud Salhi, what is the impact of this visit on the future relations between the two countries?
Well, listen, there is a match coming up. So the president did very well in this visit. So the Algerians will well the soccer game. So this will be an impact on it. But seriously, this will pave the way for stronger economic relations. The legal framework that the two countries have set up is a strong indication that the relationship will be strengthened. On the issues of the Arab League, on the Libyan, it is clear from the statements that the two countries are on one page. They have a common interest in seeing that the core issues, particularly the Palestinian issue, the Libyan issue, is addressed with the Libyan interest at heart and also the Palestinian at heart when it comes to the other issue. So we are the impact, judging from what has been developed so far, will be a good thing for the country, and we move for both countries, and we move in for a good way of developing stronger relationships.
Thank you so much, Hamoud Salhi, Professor and Associate Dean of International Education. You joined us live from the United States of America. And now, moving on to another story, tornadoes and winds gusting up to 172.2 kilometers per hour ripped off roofs and knocked down trees and power lines and led to hazardous travel conditions in the central U.S. Wednesday's storm outbreak is unusual for this time of the year and comes on the heels of one of the deadliest weather events in U.S. history. A series of deadly tornadoes tore through Kentucky and neighboring states over the weekend, killing at least 88 people. President Joe Biden is pledging to do all the necessary to help the tornado-hit states recover and rebuild. Zara Farjani reports.
Powerful tornadoes tore through 5 U.S. states on Friday, leveling houses and factories and bringing down power lines. In Kentucky, the worst-hit state, one tornado alone followed the longest and most destructive path. President Joe Biden on Wednesday pledged to do whatever it takes, as long as it takes, to help Kentucky and other states after the series of deadly tornadoes that he said left a trail of unimaginable devastation.
For years and years, as U.S. Senator and then as Vice President, I come from Delaware. We have a lot of serious storms, hurricanes, oceans rising, a whole range of things. But you know what? It always took a long time. There's no reason why it should take any time. We have the wherewithal to get it done. And we're going to get every single thing you need. And I'm going to make sure the federal government does what's needed. At the state's request, 4 FEMA search and rescue teams are working here in Kentucky right now. For those without power, FEMA's already provided 61 generators. The Army Corps of Engineers has a temporary power install teams ready to assist if needed.
Biden spoke of the stress felt by victims of natural disasters, such as the weekend storms that swept across 8 states, and said it was urgent that people be moved from emergency shelters in order to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The greatest threat from tornadoes is typically in spring and summer, and although tornadoes can happen at any time of the year in the US, it is incredibly rare for twisters as destructive as those that struck on Friday to occur in December.
And due to the increasing number of infections and severe cases of COVID-19, South Korea announced to impose new restrictions today, Thursday, including strict curfews in business sectors and tightened social distancing. The restrictions came after South Korea attempted to work on a living with COVID-19 policy, which aimed at easing pressure on citizens. The UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson urged the public to keep giving Omicron both barrels by getting a booster jab, as his top health officials warned big numbers of patients would be heading into hospitals after Christmas. England's Chief Medical Officer Chris Whitty told people to scale back their Christmas events and warned that Omicron is going to be a problem after daily COVID cases rocketed to the highest ever level, and government scientists called for further restrictions.
The wave of Omicron continues to roll in across the whole of our United Kingdom, with over 780,000 COVID cases today, the highest ever daily number reported.
The United Kingdom has recorded its highest daily corona cases since the start of the pandemic, with a new highly transmissible Omicron variant of the virus. 11 million people have now tested positive in a country of a total population of 67 million. More with Nabil Khazini.
The United Kingdom sees a dramatic surge in infections ahead of the holiday period. The UK reported a record number of new daily COVID-19 cases on Wednesday, with more than 78,000 infections in only 24 hours.
The wave of Omicron continues to roll in across the whole of our United Kingdom, with over 780,000 COVID cases today, the highest ever daily number reported.
3 weeks since it was first detected. Today, Omicron is the dominant COVID variant in the British capital, London. While its severity is not yet confirmed, what is now known about the variant is that it is clearly highly transmissible.
It's an extraordinarily transmissible virus. It's doubling less than every 2 days. A record number of cases today, 79,000 nearly. Average daily cases up to nearly 60,000. So, these are greater than the numbers we were measuring a year ago in the previous major wave.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson urged everyone to get their third vaccine dose to prevent hospitalisation and death.
The doubling rate of Omicron in some regions is now down to less than 2 days. And I'm afraid we're also seeing the inevitable increase in hospitalisations, up by 10% nationally week on week, and up by almost a third in London.
Johnson's introduction to his Plan B, which contains some restrictions, including mask mandates in shops and instructions to work from home, was rejected within his own political party. A vote on Tuesday evening in the House of Commons to require a proof of vaccination or negative coronavirus test to enter nightclubs was rejected by 96 of Boris Johnson's fellow Conservatives.
That although we've seen plans for universal mandatory vaccination in some countries in Europe, I will never support them in this country.
Despite the seemingly hard situation to contain the spread of the virus, the United Kingdom has announced its omission of the 11 countries blacklisted earlier to flight into the UK. Holidays approach and experts expect 1 million could be isolating with COVID-19 on Christmas Day, while other tens of millions will have to spend their holidays with many restrictive measures.
In an effort to contain a fast-spreading pandemic and keep schools open, several European nations started vaccinating children aged 5 to 11 against COVID-19. Croatia, Germany, Greece, Hungary and Spain are among those opening up their vaccination drives to younger kids. Some European cities plan to administer kids' jabs in museums and zoos, while others are considering mobile vaccination teams outside schools. France has said it will tighten restrictions on travellers arriving from the UK as infections linked to the Omicron coronavirus variant surge in Britain. The latest figures showed new COVID-19 infections in the UK reached the highest daily level since the beginning of the pandemic, with more than 7,800 total cases reported on Wednesday. Latest researches in South Africa in concern of the COVID-19 new variant Omicron showed that 2 jabs of Pfizer vaccine can guarantee 70% of protection against the highly transmissible virus variant. According to the companies, 2 doses of the vaccine offered 93% protection against earlier variants. Lithuanian authorities summoned their top diplomat back from China for consultations, starting the embassy would operate remotely for the time being. Lithuania's diplomatic delegation to China left the country on Wednesday in a speedily arranged exit. Hassan Barkan reports.
Lithuania has announced that it has closed its embassy in Beijing and withdrew its last diplomat from the Chinese capital. Lithuania's top diplomats to China left the country in a fast-arranged exit. The spokesperson of the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Wang Wenbin, responded stating that the so-called allegations that Lithuania's personnel based in China were concerned about their safety are purely groundless.
It needs to be pointed out that the so-called allegations that Lithuanian personnel based in China were concerned about their safety and that the Chinese government has prohibited the employment of Chinese citizens by the office of the Chargé d'Affaires of Lithuania are purely groundless. The Chinese side always attaches high importance to protecting the safety of foreign diplomatic missions, premises and personnel in China, and to ensuring that all foreign diplomatic missions in China, including the Lithuanian side, can conduct their work normally. The Lithuanian side never mentioned to the Chinese side any issue with regard to its safety.
The Lithuanian Foreign Ministry, for its part, stated that it will continue its diplomatic activities in China, explaining that the discussions are continuing in technical aspects, and that it is ready to complete the dialogue with China and restore the embassy's services to their full capacity as soon as a mutual beneficial agreement is reached. Beijing previously expelled the Lithuanian ambassador and withdrew its ambassador from Lithuania, after the Lithuanian government allowed Taiwan to open an office in the capital Vilnius.
The Bank of England became on Thursday the world's first major central bank to raise interest rates since the coronavirus pandemic hammered the global economy and warned inflation was likely to hit 6% in April, 3 times its target level. The Russian central bank intends to ban mutual funds from acquiring cryptocurrencies or related financial instruments. The proposal goes in line with Russia's central bank tough stance on decentralized digital currencies, and it comes after the regulator urged markets players to avoid trading crypto-related currencies. And the latest hunger is creeping into the Arab countries in both the Middle East and North Africa. It revealed the deteriorating humanitarian situation in the Arab region, especially Yemen and Somalia. As a special guest, Indian President Ramnath Kovind will attend Bangladesh's 50th Victory Day celebrations in Dhaka today, Thursday, which is marked to be the first foreign visit of President Kovind since the COVID-19 outbreak. Islam Sidi reports.
On his 3-day visit to Bangladesh from December the 15th to the 17th, the Indian President Ramnath Kovind will contribute in the 50th Victory Day celebrations in Dhaka on Thursday. The president was invited to the event as a guest of honor by Bangladesh President Abdul Hamid, which is considered to be the first foreign visit of President Kovind since the COVID-19 outbreak, and is the only foreign head of state requested to join the celebrations. According to officials, Bangladesh is holding the event as part of its festivity of its independence from Pakistan in 1971. The visit also will include the reconstruction of Sri Ramnath Kali Mandir, which was completely demolished by Pakistani forces during Operation Searchlight that year. President Kovind also visited Bangabandhu Memorial Museum and paid his respects to Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman on Wednesday. He also paid tributes at the National Martyrs Memorial of those who sacrificed their lives in the Liberation War of Bangladesh. It's worth mentioning that the two delegations held talks in which President Kovind emphasized on Bangladesh's special place in India's neighborhood first policy. Earlier, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina called on President Kovind, and the two leaders discussed several issues of mutual interest and bilateral cooperation.